Humanity is on the cusp of a colossal shift in understanding, one that will completely rewrite our relationship with reality itself. I'm Leanne Rose, psychotherapist, advisor to some of the world's most influential leaders, and the channel for a structural intelligence known as the Galila Collective. On this podcast, we explore what becomes possible when consciousness is understood not as a byproduct of the brain, but as the fundamental substance of the universe itself, capable of completely reshaping the material world we live in. Welcome to Consciousness First. Welcome back, my loves. So in today's episode, I wanted to touch a little bit on my background as a trance channel. So obviously my journey took me into mental health expertise first. I'm a trained mental health nurse and interpersonal psychotherapist. And legitimately, I think my system made sure that that was the area of life that I walked into first, so that by the time my trance channeling came fully online, I would know that I was not experiencing a mental health breakdown. That became a very essential part of my journey. And it's also been incredibly useful in terms of legitimizing this conversation, because it can look a little bit strange. But when people recognize that I have a history, a very solid, grounded history in mental health expertise, it really helps people's nervous systems to settle. But what I want to talk about today is my ability to actually trance channel, how this came to be, and where it kind of started from. So the trance channeling, the full trance channeling didn't come online until 4 years ago. But I've always been connected to source in a way that most people aren't consciously connected to source because of an incident that happened when I was a baby. So when I was around 3 months old, I had a seizure in the bath. And I slipped under the water when my mum had waltzed out for a towel. No judgments on my mum here. She had schizophrenia. She was struggling with her own bits and bobs at this point. So no shade there. And I drowned. And for a number of moments, I was clinically dead. And I had to be resuscitated by the paramedics that came on scene. Now, I'd always known that that moment was monumental for me, but I never really knew why until my trance channeling fully came online and the Galila Collective shared what this was about for me in terms of my own internal architecture and my relationship to source. So what happened when I momentarily died was that my beautiful little infant body was left to do its own thing, and my soul moved back off into the infinite, into the all that is, all that we are as consciousness itself in our purest, rawest essence. And when the paramedics brought me back into my infant body, that huge, colossal experience came back with me. And my infant brain grew around that experience. And the Galila Collective talk about this in terms of very specifically the area of my brain that deals with language. So what most people say to me is that you make this make sense. These are huge, huge concepts, and you make it make sense. You put it in a way that's easy for me to follow. And of course, the Galila Collective have structures that also help us to follow these as well. And that really helps. But the reason for this is because the language center in my brain has grown around these concepts. And my relationship to energy has been different from that point. I relate to energy very, very differently to most human beings because of this experience. Now, I grew up just feeling different. I didn't know that this was a thing. I didn't know that I was seeing things differently to most people. And if I'm being 100% completely honest, I still don't know what's fundamentally different about the way I experience reality, because I've never, consciously lived in another body before. So I still don't fundamentally know what is different. But what they have shown me is that experience allowed my brain to handle energy in ways that most other human bodies are not actually able to handle, hold, and channel it in the way that I do, which is why I'm able to hold the Galila Collective in my body so readily. It's why they can come in so quickly. And it's why when I move through the world, I can recognize shifts and changes in the very fabric of reality, moving as if you and I would just be having a conversation. That's life for me. And I've always thought that that was normal until the Galila Collective shared with me that that's an aspect of my beingness that is different to most people. Now, as I shared earlier, that always just felt the norm for me. I didn't know what was different about it. I just felt different. And if you are here, chances are you feel the same way. You feel like you are here for something so much bigger. You're here because you know that there is a bigger purpose that you were placed on this earth for. You've always felt somewhat different to the people around you. And that is because you are what we call a new paradigm leader. Now, my journey up to this point was not an easy one. I didn't pop out of my mama's womb being like, I'm going to start channeling beings on the internet. That was not, and they're not beings, but we won't get into that. That was not how this unfolded for me. Life took me through a process that developed my system and my ability to speak the way I'm speaking to you, to articulate these pieces, to learn about my craft before I could go about educating others on my unique perspective of things. Life is doing the same with you. You are exactly where you need to be, and there are no accidents, mistakes, or coincidences. Life is always in conversation with you, even when you are not aware of the fact that you are in the conversation, souls. So the point of today's episode is to really reassure you that even if you are in that zone of your development as a being, where you are beginning to recognize, I want so much more. I'm here for so much more. I'm ready for so much more, and I don't yet have the answers. And I feel like I'm in the wrong place. I feel like I'm constantly searching for the answer. What is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? All of that searching and seeking is actually amplifying your disconnection to where you want to be. Things didn't start locking in for me until I actually began to commit to this idea that the present moment is all that exists. Manifestation, we channeled a really, really, really beautiful strategic energetics masterclass called The New Set Point of Creation recently. And it spoke about the 3 streams of the now moment. There is the negative momentum set point, the positive momentum set point, and the neutrality set point. And it wasn't until I honed my ability to be neutral about where I was in life. I didn't want to be where I wanted to be, but actually I could come into harmony with the idea that maybe I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I will find the answers right here, right now. And if I could just allow myself to be open to the idea that life was shaping me in a way that would allow me to serve others in a way that was bigger than my human could possibly imagine. If I could get on board with that in the now moment, my nervous system could settle. And what actually then began to happen, souls, because my nervous system settled, my brain was then able to access higher thinking patterns that allowed my self-as source to stream in answers that I never would have thought about if I'd been in my survival, this isn't right, I need to be somewhere different state of mind. So if I can give you one tip to continue your exploration in finding your purpose, in finding the thing that you uniquely are coded to do to change the world, because each of us are. And if you're here, even more so, energy is speaking to you, souls. The reason that we are here is because your system wants to bring that part of you online. Fall in love with this now moment. Find evidence that life is building you up to serve the world in exactly the way you are coded to serve it. Stop trying to be anywhere other than where you are right now. Find evidence of how much joy is available right now, and I promise you, the rest of the answers will reveal themselves. I didn't try to become a trance channel. I didn't try to open my gifts. They exploded open when I allowed myself to be in harmony with life right now. And that is a skill set that we practice over and over and over. So I'm going to close this here for today, but I will see you in the next one. Sending you oodles of love from all of us. Bye. Thanks for listening, my loves. Since we're newly launched and we want to get this out to as many people as possible, we've got a super juicy invitation for those of you willing to share this podcast with your community. If you share us on social stories, tag us, and leave a review, you'll be entered into a prize draw to win an exclusive 3-month immersive one-to-one experience with myself and the GC to crack you into this new dimension of awareness. For the lucky winner, we'll be breaking down our super conscious manifestation methodology so you can start implementing this in your life and start manifesting at this level. But every share counts, my loves. And to say a massive thank you to everyone contributing to getting this information as far and wide as possible. If we make it into the top 100, we'll be giving everyone that's shared us and left a review one of our most powerful transmissions. This is one of our clients' all-time favorites, and it's been responsible for some of our biggest breakthroughs and client results. You can find out more about the competition and other ways to work with us in the show notes below. We'll see you in the next one.